Hello everybody and welcome to Top Tier Tutorials episode 3. My name is Andyroo and I'm joined by the wonderful, the enigmatic Mr. Andyroo. How are you doing today, buddy?
Hello, very good, thank you.
Perfect. So, as you all should know by now, if you're a regular to the Top Tier Tutorials, even though we've only done 2 of them so far, I have a series of categories that I go through with my guest, who is a top tier competitor and who is a complete character specialist and knows everything about said character. So just to give you a quick rundown, we have a little intro, playstyle, strengths, weaknesses, counterplay, combos, tech traps and frame traps, matchups, buffs, nerfs, changes and adjustments, and then we end with the conclusion. So, starting off, Mr. Andyroo. For people who don't know, even though we all probably know you by now, give us a little bit of a background, give us a bit of an intro about you as a competitor and as a Soulcalibur player in general.
Yeah, sure thing. So, I started playing the game during Soulcalibur with some friends who got it. So I bought a masher during that stage, messed with characters. It was Soulcalibur 5 where I actually learned that fighting games were a competitive thing, and had got online, being able to play that. And of course, my character that probably many people knew was Zvi, which, very, very easy to say that he was one of the worst characters in the game, but I enjoyed him for his aesthetics. And when Soulcalibur 6 finally came around, we saw the announcement of Zasalamel, and I was hooked. Boy, hey, straight away. It's just so cool. And after playing Zwi for so long, you really got to understand, the very fundamentals that you need to win, essentially. And I feel like that's definitely helped get to where I was from the get-go in this game, because I pick up Zaz. I immediately learned how incredibly strong he was from when the first game came out, and he's still incredibly strong right now. So here we are today. Essentially, we'll be going over how I managed to find success with Zaz and all his tools and how to apply the cursors and spend the cursors, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff indeed. So, the first section we're going to go over, is playstyle. So Zas, me and Andy have played a couple of times online over the past couple of days. We've also fought in tournament, and he said to me just recently that Zas can cover a couple of playstyles, like ranged and close up with his really good pokes. So Andy, take it away. Tell us about his playstyle.
Yeah, sure thing. So he is rather versatile when he's up close. He has plenty of fast buttons that are safe from a step. He's got a 2A, very nice to have. A6 as well, very fast I-14 was on the mid. A nice safe low into B plus K, and very fast counter hit tools as well. 3A comes to mind, as well as 4B being safe on safe block also. And when at a distance, he can pull people in. He can make sure the opponent stays still. He's got things like 6-6A, horizontal mid with a lot of range. So something that when Zaz is approaching, a lot of characters might try to sidestep or do a tech crouching 2-2B or something, and Zaz just easily says no to that, and you get persecuted.
Zaz says no.
Yeah, pretty much. And a lot of pull-ins in general. So they're at a distance, probably about range. This is about range 1.5 here, which is like a Zaz back step and a half. That's where you've got like your 3A. You can be able to stop the opponent ducking and stepping. And in general, a lot of characters who want to make the opponent whiff, they're going to have a very hard time doing that against Zaz with sidestep. So they have to play very, very carefully and cautiously. And once you've got them playing defense, that's when you can start moving around more on your terms, applying your grabs and your low pokes, and you condition the opponent to make mistakes, and then that's when you can start with punishing them accordingly. But yeah, so in other words, playing defensively and safe is very good at, with always counter hit rewards and controlling movement, and can be played offensively as well, because some of his frames are really good. Like we have a move like 4A, which is very long range, I-20 high, but it's -2 on block and covers a lot of distance. Like I'm over here. Yeah, that's him taking a front step first. Just things that when you want to try and move, he's just going to deny you from doing that. And it's -2 on block, so he can very easily decide to carry on pressing with like 2A or 6K or something, or CE, or wait and see what you're going to do next. Off a move that when you're trying to space, and then all of a sudden he comes in with his big side hitbox, and that's just kind of how he can control the pace of the match.
I hope there's an entire section dedicated to his massive hitboxes.
Yeah, we'll definitely go over that as well. So, I should also mention that he's also very good with with some pushback moves as well. A very important one is his 4B+K on block. It's -16, but the pushback sends you really far. That's about 2.5. Zaz can't even reach with 6BB there in the mirror. But so in other words, his playstyle is somebody who likes to take advantage of timing and conditioning, and also his curse mechanic as well. And that's what I'd like to talk about next. I think that'll be a good transition into that.
Feel free to.
Yeah, so I'll go over his curses now. So as you know, you can have up to 3 any one time. Once you use a time stop move, the day will go, and the amount of frames that you get will depend on how many curses that you have spent. Curses are really important. They mean that you can get big damage combos off of them, access to 50/50s, and they improve his already seriously strong ring out game. So just to list a few ways to get the curses boards, 6K immediately comes to mind for an I-12. Very good for block punishment if it can reach. Good in combos if you want to get that curse on. And a lot of his moves are +12 that give him a curse, which we'll go over more in the combo section, but some very strong moves that do that. I'll mention very quickly now, From Crouch 3K, incredibly powerful move. It is Tech Crouch for almost all of its frames, apart from like the last one. So it does trade with highs, but 9 times out of 10 you are going to avoid them. It's -2 on block, and you get a 6K on hit for 40 damage and a curse. So you can really be going to town with this if they don't want to crouch or use TC moves.
Really going to town.
Yeah, and as I say, it's super fast as well. Doesn't care if it's blocked. He's also got 6A+GK as command grab that he can get a curse off of. If you break it, it's +8 on break. So that can continue his momentum even if they break it. And B+KK as well. I want to give that a mention. It does have a startup on it that players can react to by either sidestepping or interrupting, but he's got the ability to cancel it, which causes mind games. So there's going to be percentages of people that give you this for free on block anyway. So they don't see it coming, or they just step to the side and block, and then he does that, and you get a curse on that way. But it's got the ability to cancel it into moves as well. So if I react to the startup, better stop moving. And you'll start getting clipped by other things as well. So that is also a good way to build the cursor. So these really strong moves get the curse. He's got a fantastic whiff punish. He's got 2. This is more of a preference thing. You've got 6B+KA, an I-22 starts vertical. It's got some tech crouch frames in it, which help. Oops. And it's 60 damage and a curse. That is his optimal curse applier whiff punish tool. So when you're backstepping and you've made something whiff, you want to get a lot of momentum going. You get a nice chunk of damage and a curse. If you are late and they can block, of course, a second is a high, and you can get duck punished for it. So you do have to be careful. There's a nice little alternative, which I will not blame anyone for using otherwise, is 6BK. And 6B offers a bit more range than 6B plus K. As you can see in this example here, we're at range 2 right now. That's just out of range there, but 6B on the get-go reaches. It's 2 frames faster at I-20, and it's literally 8 less points of damage. And so you're still going to get the curse. And if you are late and it is blocked, you are minus 12. Example here. You can get punished for it, but you're going to take a lot less pain than getting your 60 plus KA up. So
there you go. Doing that means you get a lot less pain.
Yeah. Yes, if blocked, and it also does 11% guard damage. So you can't really. Oh, you can't see on that one. I need to get him. But yeah, so that's a very good whiff punish. 100%. Good way to get it as well. So once you have curses, the ideal amount, there's quite a lot of applications you can get for 1 curse. But 2 curses I find is a very ideal number. It unlocks a lot of his damage. That's where his low gets scary with his 1B. And he's also got a great whiff punish 4A as well. So we've got our handy training mode curse applier. This is A plus K in training would get you 1. But we'll be using 6 A plus K for 2 curses in training. And yeah, once he has this, it opens him up to a powerful low in 1BB. Gives you a plus 16 gap for you to get a 4-6B ender for 39 damage or 43 with the just frame. Very strong for ring outs. There's a lot of ring out in that. Alternatively, you'll have a 3AB, but we'll talk more about the exact. But that's just a very threatening low that he has to. And his curses also give him bigger damage in combos as well. So again, I'll talk more of that in detail. But let's say we land a 2-2B, we can spend the curses and get a good exchange there. And his ring out game as well, which is already very good, and we'll be talking about reverse ring outs shortly. But just to give a little example, once he gets his curses going, he's got a lot of ring out distance that he can deal with as well. So essentially, the curses are very handy to enforce these mix-ups, an extra threat on the opponent, and he's going to get a lot of them with block and whiff punishment, his grabs if they don't want to break back grab anymore, and the B plus K mix-ups as well. So if you're somebody who likes to build towards that, the payoffs are really good because you can purposely drop combos to get curses as well. That's another very good way to approach in playing him also. So a lot of different takes for a very offensive, defensive, curse heavy Zaz player, really.
So in terms of optimal Zasalamel playstyle, if you had to choose one of them to kind of cover most of the cast, what would you say is the best? Because I know obviously you have to adapt especially in a really competitive environment, you have to adapt your playstyle. But for people who may want to pick up Zasalamel and want to pretty much #get good as quickly as possible, what kind of playstyle would you recommend the most? Andy? Oh, looks like we may have lost we may have lost Andy very shortly. Bear with us. We can see you moving, but we can't hear you. If you want to very quickly leave the call and jump back in, Andy, that should fix it. Unless he can't hear me either. We'll never know exactly. Bear with me. I'll send him a quick cheeky DM. The question was too personal. Just telling him to rejoin the Discord. Apologies. Technical difficulties. We did test this earlier and it was fine. It's a non-binary playstyle player. I like that. I mean, also, while we're sorting out these technical difficulties, I have actually just uploaded two new emotes and one new sub badge. I'm not sure when they actually go into effect, but feel free to try and test them out. One of them is hashtag BuffDan, the other one is bruh, and the sub badge should be basically just a standard shuriken, which I will edit later to make it better for more subscribers.
Can you hear me still?
Andy, yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry, everybody.
That's okay, no problem. Technical difficulties, it happens. But yeah, literally as I was asking a pretty good question, if I don't say so myself, about the most optimal playstyle when you're just starting out as a Zasalamel.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so what I would do is play a relatively defensive approach, because you'll soon learn that, especially if the opponent isn't too familiar with Zaz, is that you'll just land a lot of counter hits in general by just playing honest and respecting your frames. Chances are they think that they can move around while fighting Zaz, and you'll just get a lot of counter hits in general. And using your movement, you can create whiff punishes whiff punish opportunities as well, to get your curses going. And then it's all about flipping the switch when they are finally playing defensive, and that's when you can land your throws, your low pokes, your guard damage. So you're actively trying to change up your playstyle to remain unpredictable, and that's where you're going to land a lot more counter hits, and then get your curses for them making mistakes, and then landing the big boy damages.
The big boy damage is exactly how I would describe that.
Like this, for a counter hit with one curse.
105 damage, absolute madness. Right, thank you very much for that, Andy. Moving on to our third part, the strengths, weaknesses, and counterplay. So, you know, this section is one of the more argued about regarding his strengths and his weaknesses, because some people say he doesn't have great lows, some people say he has really good lows, his frames are pretty good. You know, there's a variety of opinions out there about Zasalamel, but you are the one giving your opinion to us today, the top tier competitor. Take it away, Andy.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So strengths, as I've sort of brushed upon in the first half, his natural ability to force the opponent to play defensively, which is meaning that they're playing less of their game and more of yours. So that obviously just means that you get to take the initiative more, thus, you know, get things happening in your terms is a very good trait to be forcing on the opponent with just how much you can keep them still, and then even when you block his moves, especially some of the ones with low disadvantage, it's very hard to know when he's going to let you attack or not. So to talk a bit more in more detail we'll talk with probably the first move in everyone's mind, which is 3A series. It's not the sole reason why people stay still, but it is one of his key moves for that. So his 3A series is I-16, and it's horizontal mid. It's got I would say it's a range 1 move. Sometimes there's a little. It can sometimes get the very tip of characters' hitboxes and be a little bit more than that. But it's very, very good in what it does. Keep opponents still. You've got 3AB, which will counter hit you and send you right behind him, very, very deadly near a wall or a ring out. He's got 3AK, which is a +10 on hit, and if they even do happen to block it, he is safe. They have to duck to get a punish. But 3AB is a mid that will hit them for ducking and is +2. It's not an ideal mix-up on block, but the fact that there is a mix-up on block of a move that covers so many options is just, essentially an extra benefit. Sometimes I find that I am throwing this move out and I'm still getting a hit even while I'm covering so much stuff. So that's always a nice. A nice
3A is one of the banes of players fighting against the Zasalamel. I mean, it's like you said, horizontal mid. It'll catch step, back and side. It'll completely destroy tech crouches. It's a really, really good move.
Yeah, very, very strong in that regard. We also do have 3AB hold, and a little bit of a matter of knowledge check, but it does have its application. If they do want to sit there and block it, is neutral on block, and it does 14% guard damage. Again, starting off a horizontal mid, you can also hit confirm it as well. So if you see the 3A hit, you can let go of the B early, and it's still comboing. But if they block, then you can go for the hold version to be extra safe. It can be step to one side, and then that's a Zaz specific punish. And you can also reverse the ledge on reaction for a bit of counterplay against the move. So players like to twitch duck after 3A and then start buffering a sidestep to deal with the 3AB hold. But again, the 3AB normal version will hit. So there is still a mix-up involved. But again, if the opponent isn't on the ball with 3A series, like if it's 3AB normal version's going on punt, or if 3AK is going on duck, or this is going on sidestep, then it's pretty free. Then they definitely need to they definitely need to avoid and deal with those moves because they're covering so much, and if you're not not making him pay for when you do actually guess right, it's not a good idea. Some other moves to mention as well that does it quite well is his I already mentioned 4A earlier, just for its range and being a -2 on block or on hit. I-20, very nice to close the distance, stop them trying to do any spacing with punish, malarkey when they're all after that. So that's very handy, especially versus the the longer range character who prefer to keep distance. Whenever you have an opportunity, 4A them, bring them in, and then work around it from there. They can try and duck it on a read, but if they're doing it at this distance, it can be risky because they can get eaten by 6BB lethal, which is safe also, and also I-20.
and also this, and also that.
Yeah. So the emphasis is we are slowing them down. They are having to wait, and you're covering this, that, and this. The opponent can only block or like hard read GI or something like that, or auto GI. Or if they're out the range, try and stay out. It's really hard to do so when he's covering about this much of the screen. And then chances are their character isn't going to be very effective at this range. So Zaz is there well, you're not really scaring me anymore. So that's a very good way to be able to keep them. Still, again, I'll also mention pawn catch 3k. If they're stepping, if they're blocking, if they're doing a high, chances are going to be fine. And they are having to work around that a lot. I see people who block after they block my pawn catch 3k. They just like twitch duck or step guard or just stay right there. So I'm just there like, oh, okay, I'll grab you now or something. Even though I'm -2. Like just little situations like that you need to keep on the ball and pay attention. So that's a very big strength for him. I mentioned his other strength before touching up on some weakness, which is his ring out game. Everybody's
here we go.
Everybody's what you've been waiting for. We'll go right to We'll go right to the ring edge. Presenting nightmare time. This actually isn't too bad because you're out of 3A here. Essentially, here we go. Now I've got a smile on my face. So here we have.
So depressing.
Yeah. Look at it. You're just scared. What am I gonna do now? So essentially, what makes his reverse ring out game is super strong. Is again half of it is due to his 3AB, because on counter hit you're going to get flung out the ring at this distance. Even when you're here, like it can be really sucky. Chances are, if you're contesting, if you're pressing button, it's going to hurt. Well, it don't hurt. You're going to die. Oh no, you got lucky there. You didn't see that. So you might think, okay, well, I'll play a more defensive approach then. But he's got 2 throws that are coming out. This is his front break, his 6A plus GB, +8 on break like other command throws, and will cause the ring out. And he can also do it off his reverse throw as well. His 4A plus G. He's got a lot of reverse ring out range. Off you go. So they are playing a very risky game if they're just standing and blocking. So some players like to crouch to not get counter hit by 3A and to avoid both the lows. Presenting the next move, 4A plus B. This is a mid that will send you quite far behind him, resulting in the reverse ring out. Sometimes, because Az is a bit of a meanie when it comes to tracking. More on this later. You even try and avoid this thing sometimes, and you'll still die. So,
bit of a meanie when it comes to tracking.
Yeah, that's putting it. He's also got his wild rising B. If he wants to try and press buttons, a bit risky anyway. He can reverse bring you out with his wild rising B. You can even like duck, think you're going to rise in B and then grab them. You know, you can get quite creative with it, to be honest. Point being, he's got a lot. Oh, I mentioned one other reverse ring out situation. It's his 4B move. It's I-16, quick, safe poke. But on counter hit, if you land the just frame, they get sent behind him for a lot of distance. Like this. Ugh. And that was a back turn A follow up.
I think I just lost 2 years of my life watching you do that.
Yeah, which goes to his side there. So that's that's safe as well. Like, you think I'm gonna risk this -16 move that I can hit confirm and do the hold version on? And you say you're gonna wait for that. Well, I can just do my safe mid, which sometimes hits you sidestepping anyway. You don't often get the counter hit, but still very strong situation. He is good enough that he doesn't have to be reverse ring out, but that is where, of course, he is most feared. He's got things like counter hit 6B into BK slide, the forward ring outs, and even over low walls, just general launches into BK will also send them out as well. So stage position is very, very important, and even when you're near a wall, his wall game's quite good because, again, you don't want to move, so he can just keep you in his wall game. You know, keep that pressure on where he wants you to, because you don't want to get counter hit by 3 AK because wall splat on counter hit, by the way. And he's also got his throws. His front throws can also wall splat. So that means they're going to be breaking front throw, staying still, so you can hit them with like side reverse throws, that sort of thing. Just another good strength is just being good in any stage. So when people are all unhappy about all ring outs, if you get one with low walls is fine. Full walls you can keep the pressure on as well. Of course, ring out is with that, but it's still very effective.
Sorry, the apocalypse has just started outside.
Yeah,
just had to close my window because everything was coming through. All right, sorry. Please carry on.
I'm just making an abyss happen in real life. We'll talk a little bit about some of his weaknesses a little bit, because he does have them. He does have workarounds like other good characters, but things you have to be careful of. I'll first mention his block punishment game. I'll tell you what his block punishment options are for people interested. But anything that's -12 or -14 with pushback, Zaz can't reach with a BK slide, which isn't the most kindest input to do on a buffer. If he's even out the range of that, then chances are your move's going to be safe, because his range for that speed there is very low. Like his furthest range thing at -12 is his standing K, and even at the tippest ranges, the second hit will whiff. So, for his example here of a -12 move, when pushbacks are involved, he's not touching it. But yeah, but when you are in range, his block punishment is very good for the 6k to get a curse, as we've mentioned before, 20 damage. He's got his AA at 12, his B-side K at 14, although I do like 6k there as well, if that can still reach. 16 has got 4-6B and 3A to keep them in. Soul attack, get into soul charge, which we'll talk more about in a bit. And with curses, you can start getting good damage off there as well.
And we're still
18...
on his strength as well.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I know. I appreciate it's meant to be about his weaknesses, but that is essentially one weakness that characters can take advantage of if you can't punish things that are slightly unsafe with. But once you do get to 16s and over, he's just more like other characters. He's got his I-20 for A plus B, good damage and Oki, and then at 22, that's when he gets his curse. Again, and this is also 20 as well. Another weakness to mention is, I've said numerous times already, phrases such as "if the opponent knows the matchup," "if they are going to block and wait for you," sort of thing. You're going to want to know how to actually take advantage of the opponent playing defensive with you. So they know the strings. Let's say they're on the ball with how to deal with the 3A series. Again, there's no option select to it, but let's say if they, are going to hit you hard whenever they do get, and they're playing very defensive, this is where you need to take advantage of them staying still with your throws. So again, his side throws are very strong, giving you good Oki and damage off both of them. His best preferred side is not that side; it's the other one. It's this side here. 65. You can go the other way as well, but it's 10 less damage, but the same Oki. Some very good lows. hit here. As much as he's very good at counter hitting them, his 1 BI 16 low. You are -4, but there's a lot of pushback, 20 damage. This will likely counter hit as well. There's also that benefit. You have your 1A if you also want to be careful of movement. It also tech crouches. Also -4 as well. 2B plus K. The second hit is a force block if the first hit lands. -4 on block again. On counter hit, that's a combo and is +10 on counter hit. And these are pokes you can use to annoy the opponent with, as well as your grab. I also want to mention a move that isn't used very much by Zaz players, but I'm trying to get into the habit of using it more. It is 1-1B. It's a move that got buffed in Season 2 to actually be a viable move now. It really wasn't very good before. It's neutral on hit, so he does have a neutral on hit low. So that is very, very good for his CE mind games, his baiting 2A and getting a 4-4K lethal hit on it, them step guarding, playing patient, and you getting free pressure off. It's got a lot of range as well. It does have a little bit of a hitbox issue against side turn opponents. I can't demonstrate that very good on, but there are others that you can just be standing still, you go to the side and it whiffs, but that isn't something that comes into play too much. But if you're buffering it from coming forward, like all in one motion, I'm not sidestepping, it's going straight on. -12 on block. Just another move that you can use to make mind games with. Are they going to contest you? If not, you could like do something like this and just force them to want to take action. So a weakness, as I say, is you do have to make these reads. You do have to condition. If you're not making the reads on the opponent, chances are you're not getting your counter hit damage. You're not getting very far in the match that way. So there is a bit of adaptation required from the opponent. An ideal opponent is somebody who wants to press all day, somebody who is eager to take their turn, and Zaz really messes up for that. But against somebody defensive, the Zaz player does have to put more work in, and against some of the other characters that can destroy standing guard very, very easily, resourceless, you know, it can be seen a bit tougher in that sense. Of course, when he does have curses and soul charge, then that kind of goes out the window because he's got soul charge 1AB, which which is a +4 on hits, horizontal natural combo for that much damage. It's extremely good round end because of how hard it's going to be to avoid, and his grabs become a mix-up for 80 damage and Oki off either break. So they're not really going to want to stay still and eat these, I'm guessing wrong, because all it takes is one of these into, or are they still going to stay patient, into one of them, and that's already like half life with 2 damage combined off 2 ways to beat standing guard. So his soul charge is very good for that. I kind of think that's why it's been designed that way, to give you a bit more of a comeback factor if your cursors aren't working out for you, or they've guessed right, or you just haven't had much luck getting them on that round. Because obviously when you've got them, you can hurt them with more damaging lows. And when you've got 3, obviously ideal scenario, +10. Oki 60 damage on hit. Or you can opt for get 1 curse back with 6B plus KA, 6K. So those are noticeable weaknesses. I know I sugarcoated them in all of his little quirks of not really caring and still being able to do things. That's why I consider him really good. That he's not hopeless when they are blocking. And it's probably more noticeable weakness for me is simply the block punish. If he could block punish really well, then he would be an absolute monster.
Even more so than he is now.
That would be very, very nuts. Oh, I also forgot 4AB with 2 curses as a whip one.
There you go, an extra bit of tidbit there right at the end of the weakness section.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's kind of an idea so to summarize, block punishment, general lows, and having to condition for strengths, slowing the opponent down, being able to play on your turn, reverse ring out, and even with 1 curse, he has some very big damage as well. So it doesn't take too much setup to really get the dangerous ouch that hurt damage.
Yeah. So in terms of counterplay for obviously against Zasalamel, you have gone over it a little bit in his weaknesses because they're kind of the same thing. But if there's one thing that you would say you should focus on when fighting a Zas, and like obviously if they're playing a very mashy game, you can get a lot of counter hits. But if they're playing a very solid, what Zasalamel should play like a game, how do you perform the best against him?
Yeah, sure thing. So in order to know the matchup, you are going to have to differentiate some of his strings, because I hear all the time when I play somebody who doesn't fight as much, oh, I don't really know how to punish this. It looks the same, which I completely understand. And that is very true. You have to really know what you are looking for. But there are tells. All you've got to do is simply fight him enough, and you'll be able to tell and what you can step and what you can punish. But some big obvious ones is the 3A series. Make sure you're always punishing this. Don't always, but duck this when you really think it's coming. 6-6A, a very, very good move for what it does. But if I'm just doing the no hold version, it's -14. Make sure you're getting some sort of punish on that and hitting him for it. Otherwise, he's got in for free with while covering so much. He can hold it, and it's -4 on block, but that even on counter hit isn't a combo. And you can even GI it, the hold version. So don't let him get that. And his 6A series, so his 6AA and 6AB, are moves that once you get used to seeing them, you can GI on a read to deal with both of them, or if you want to deal with one, you can sidestep to 6AB and punish or duck the 6A. So a lot of Zaz players like just to go for single 6A on its own, but at that point the risk reward isn't as much or not for that. So that's another reason to be playing defensive, waiting for these moves come out so you can take your turn accordingly and not mash like a maniac. So play defensive, get used to seeing 6-6A and 3A and 6A. Once you are familiar with what they look like, I guarantee you'll have a much easier time fighting him and punishing him, because then they have to think, because if you never do that, then the Zaz player can turn their brain off, even more so than they're doing. So like, it's quite important that you get that down. So learn those moves and how your character deals with them, and play defensive, and take your turn back.
There we go. Play defensive, take your turn back. Words to the wise.
But careful of CE.
But careful of CE. There we go. I think there's some people in chat waiting for the worst CE in the game, and there you go. He was able to press the difficult sequence of buttons to make that happen.
But of course, this is something that is reliant on catching timings. So if your opponent is step blocking accordingly, chances are they're going to get round his CE. But that also does add to the conditioning side of strength. That if they are waiting for CE, then you can take the initiative. Like I'm at disadvantage, I just start grabbing people because they're waiting for CE. Like it's kind of, but again, that's still conditioning. That's still you. Like you can get messed up for that hard. Like if they're not thinking about what you're thinking, So it's all about sort of getting that understanding of his options and what they look like and dealing with them, and then taking advantage of your moves that he can't punish well, and taking advantage of your mix-ups and move when your character can, and take full advantage of that and stay the fuck away from the ring edge.
Well, there you go. Right. Thank you very much for that, Andy. We've finished our strengths, weaknesses, and counterplay section. So we'll be moving on to our next one: frame traps, tech traps, and combos. Very much not a section for people who want to learn his counterplay, because obviously a combo, if it's a natural combo, you're not going to be able to get out of it. But tech traps and frame traps, you can have a little gander at what he can do and what he can't do. Make sure you're pressing the right things at the right time, which way to tech, when to stay on the ground, etc, etc. So let us know, Andy.
Yep, sure thing. So I mentioned at the start that some important combos are going to be his combos that give you a 6k curse. So not going to dabble too much into them, but 6A, 6k, don't crash the gate. I'll just do it a few times beyond.
Yep.
6B8, 6k, 6BK, 6k, and 214B plus 6k. Oh, side note, completely forgot to tell you about this move against defensive opponents as well. It is +4 on block. It is a high vertical, however the second hit does have a bit of tedious tracking to it if they're going to press early. But it's going to be a move that you can pressure their guard with. Alternatively, and on hit, it's +12 to get 6. And then, of course, his general launches, curseless.
The classic. There you go. Yeah.
You've got your BK 4-6B just frame. You can end without the 4-6B for a bit of a more threatening Oki position. You can opt for a 666K, so that's doing a 666K input to get a curse if you want to go down that road. And of course, with his time stop moves as well, when you want to get the big damages, make sure you don't just frame the 4-6B in his curse. So with 2 curses, and you don't just frame it, this is guaranteed. So that's launch, that's any launch, that can be 3B, that can be 6-6B plus K, that can be 3B, that could be 6-6B counter hit. You don't need to do the BK. If you're wondering why you don't need to do that, is because it adds no extra damage to your combo, or sometimes 1 extra damage, so it's just not worth it to drop the combo over. So if I was to do this, oh, it's done a wall splat. Oh, okay.
The one time.
I know. If I was to do this, well, look at the damage. Look, 77. I swear that's less than what I was doing. That I was showing you before. I think it was 88. Was at before. So never mind. It'll do a negative damage. Too bad. Look at that. So don't do the just there. You just straight B. I'll mention a few lethal hit combos as well. So once you've got your launches and your curse combos, you've got a lethal hit, 6BB. You do 6BK, 4BB just frame, back turn B plus K into perfect Oki situation. If you've got 2 curses, 1BB is a force block / can hit if they don't block low, or you can hit them with launches if they do want to there. You can, we'll mention a very powerful matchup knowledge tool will be his 4K. It's into the same combo route. Damage, the scaling is very generous. This really hurts. That's almost 90 damage and Oki. For this move, which lethal hits when you counter hit or whiff punish heavy attack. So that's a move that's level 1 on GI or RI, and is very important to know in your matchups. because it's I-14 as well, so you can just throw that out. Like, it's very easy to whiff punish with it close up. So very important lethal hit combo to know as well. We also have...
just a very quick thing for me. Is 4K good just in neutral, as a neutral tool, rather than just a heavy whiff punish?
It's very very situational.
Okay.
Lethal hit, to be honest, because it's minus 16 block, and it's neutral on hit with this much distance.
Okay. Cool. Fair enough.
And the recovery is really bad on it. So.
Gotcha.
Stick with it for the lethal hit. We have also his 4K lethal hit as well, which will auto GI lows, including 2A. Very big damage. If I was to get the opponent to do that. You can get 90 damage easy mode there. Or a slightly harder version. $107 there by doing a step in and full B plus K. Some characters would need to do a step in and then step to the side to be able to get the relaunch of full B plus K. But the payoff, as you've seen there, was 107 damage off GIing a 2A, which is very strong.
Pretty sexy,
and, yeah, with curses as well, you can do a bit more easy mode again. You can get about 100 damage there. This is with one curse by spending it in here. A few different ways around you can do it. We'll do more damage there. Look at that. About the same as the. If you don't want to take the hard version, you can spend the curses and well, spend one curse and do it that way. That's also good as well, and I'm having a bit of a mind blank for other lethal hits right now. Can't seem to think. His A plus B is all right, but because it's a high, there's never really any force box setups. There's a bit of a mix up with it, but you're not really beating reversal edge by doing A plus B K. That's kind of avoiding the. You're not really taking advantage of your lethal hit then, but if you do happen to get the opponent to lethal, you can get 4-4B, pop them up with 6-6B into a 6K for a good damage and a curse, or the tech you can do straight back throw, which is about the same damage, well, a bit more damage that way, and for ring out. Do that for ring out also. I'll mention some of his curse combos. I think they're going to be important to mention.
Definitely.
With that, so I'll just get into still me there. So I've already shown 4-6B after 1BB there. You can do soul attack to get 49 into soul charge off 2 curses. And I shown you earlier the 3, but I'll just show them again. That's 4 for A plus B, back turn B plus K. And that's 6B plus KA, 6K after your 1BB with 3 curses. We'll also mention the... Yeah, we already did the 4A one, didn't we? We did that. It's a very powerful ring out tool and whiff punisher. If they've got 2 curses and they're whiffing anywhere here, you can just be like, "What did you just say, bonk?" They're dead. So that's.
Did you just say?
That's very good there. With that. Yeah, I've shown you the curse combo spend there. I will mention this combo as well. It is a very big whiff punisher. It's a 6 A plus BB, which is this. With 1 curse, you can go for the back turn BB ender for 75. It's I-22, pretty good range. And what's really good about it with 2 cursors, especially if you hit it tip range, you can turn around and do full B plus K relaunch very consistently. So look like this. 126 off a whiff.
Amazing damage on that one.
Yeah, it does hurt. With 3, you've not got to worry about any inconsistencies or range. You can just go straight for this. Turn around to A plus B, 6 A plus B for 107. Which is very nice. If you've got this far in the match with 3 cursors on them, chances are that this will kill, if not almost kill. That'll probably be the way you end the round. If you land that whiff. So that
1 second, Andy. It seems we're getting some very pixelated footage coming through.
Yeah, no problem.
Bear with. Not entirely sure why that is. Okay, seems to have been fixed. There we go.
Awesome, cool. So yeah, so those are some combos. I hope that I have mentioned some of the important ones.
It's back again. I don't know why. It seems to be the Discord call or the Discord screen sharing thing.
Leave and come back on that.
Yeah, just do it real quick.
Yeah, sure.
More technical difficulties, so do bear with us. I hope you're enjoying the TTT so far. We've covered a bit of intro with Andyroo and his journey, Soulcalibur 6 stuff. We've covered his strengths, weaknesses, and his counterplay. And we're just about to get to the end of the combo section, where we'll then talk about tech traps and frame traps. And then after that, we'll talk about... oh yeah, we'll do. After that, we'll talk about matchups, and then, matchups, and then afterwards will be the buffs, nerfs, changes, and adjustments, the 2 most contentious sections of this entire TTT.
I've got that back up for you. Is it still looking the same?
Start smacking again. I want to make sure sound is all synced up. There we go. Perfect. Right. We're back.
Nice. Awesome. So I think I covered... I'm just going... Lethal hits, make sure I'm not missing anything too important there. We did 4K. 66B. That one. Cool. I'll mention 66B is a very nice... lethal hit. The condition is when you counter hit them while they don't have a bar of meter, so it's a very nice early game, because if I get it to 0, I lost mine, but it doesn't really matter, and I get a counter hit on them, I get this launch, which your follow-ups let you go to 8A plus B, 6A plus B for 65, or you can go routes like Rising A, which I like to do, gives me a 6k afterwards for a curse. Or you can go just a curse on there for them. When you want to get the max damage out of it, you can curse spend here. Back a bit more damage on as well. It's very nice for ring outs as well. I can do this, run at them for a bit, and then BK just frame. Or if the ring edge to his side, like if we're like here, I can go to the side, and if I didn't drop that just frame, that too. So that is also nice. You can go for the EK here as well for oaky situations, but in terms of the damage, this ends up starts being, you know, the same as this. But those are just some routes you can do off of that. And again, 66B, another move I should have really mentioned on his counter hits and taking advantage moves. It's a range 2 I-18 mid. That is safe on block at -8. And is +10 on normal hit. It launches counter hit for like your standard launcher, and it does this for the lethal.
6xb, incredibly versatile move for Zasalamel.
Yeah, nice handy move. And anywhere near a ring edge, you are probably going to die if the Zas player isn't messing up just frames like I just did twice now.
Anywhere near the ring edge on any stage, if you have a Zasalamel on it, is danger territory.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Can we talk about ring outs again? I remember some.
Go on then.
How can I forget about this? I did this to you about 10 times today.
6BB.
6BB needs to hit, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look at this, look. That would never happen in a match.
Yeah, right. Whee.
Very strong. Of course, this move is going to pull them in, which you want them near. You want them near you when your back's to the edge. So on block, that is fine for you. And on hit, when they're escaping, if they're not being careful and box stepping, then you can hit them with this, allowing you to 4B plus K them out the ring. That's another very strong and important combo to know.
Great. So those are all of the combos that I see you have prepared for our wonderful viewers. But now let's go into the frame traps and the tech traps. Which one do you want to go over first?
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about tech traps. I did have a bit of an extra look into this. Pretty much in almost all of instances, Zaz doesn't have, and well, he doesn't have many tech traps that aren't already going to combo. And if he does have tech traps, he doesn't have many dead traps or reasons for you to tech in the first place.
Sure.
There are some. I'm just going to mention two just for the sake of it. Probably one of the better ones. The normal hit is after 4-6B with one curse, or possibly more. Now this is very character specific. I might talk about this towards the end in match, but after this knockdown, the opponent can back tech to escape to A plus B. It's not going to work on Zaz. He's actually already out of range. But if they do back tech, you can hit them with a run up 2-2B, which will hurt them quite a bit. So you can get relaunched pretty painfully for that. And that can also work on side techs as well. Sometimes right, well, should I say most of the time, right tech can get out of that. But that is just an example. It's a bit better on some characters where they have to back tech to avoid this in the combo. It's character specific. So some characters, they're forced in a mix-up where 4-6B B1 curse hits them, and then they have to back tech to avoid this. And if they don't, or you've got two curses, you get a lot of damage. I'm going to cheat and show it you near the wall just for the sake of it. But this is what you'd get on anybody mid-screen, 85 against those characters. So it's quite a nasty mix-up between that and run up 2-2B.
That is pretty beefy, yeah.
In that example. So like I say, that's probably the one I immediately think of when I think of traps, because most of your launches and knockdowns, you're preparing like your Oki, or you've just gotten a curse or something like that. So they don't naturally tech trap so many of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go for things like 6XA and some tech traps as well. I'll try and show an example here. I'm not going to be able to do combos at all, I don't think. Mm-hmm. Let's get into tech, that'll be a good idea. You can go for this. It's a bit. You see how inconsistent it is. I bet it would work sometimes with slight delays. but this is how specific you'd have to be to, you really go. There you go. Look, you can get a curse. That worked out in the end. That was like a slightly delayed 6-6A after 4-6B in a combo. but the opponent has very little reason to not tech there. You'd never need to tech there, because they can, even if I'm going to go for something like this, they'll be able to block in time at the very least.
Okay.
And if they do tech against that, some combos are actually alright, and you can GI and get out of whiff punishment pretty easily, but other ones you can't. And like if I was to get the opponent to do this to me, this is just an example on how some of them work. If I block here, let's have a look. Oh, hey, never mind. Oh, combos.
Learning something new every day.
But again, like you'd have to like a delayed 668 to mix. I suppose it could be good. There we go. We've all just learned something. Maybe that could be something. Let's look at the damage on that. If they 70, it's about 10 more than what it would have been. But I guess near a wall. So, right, guys, we're learning on the fly here, aren't we? Boom, boom. 74 and Oki. Okay.
I love that you've never discovered this before.
Live. Okay, sound. Yeah. There we go. There's some tech traps for you. And well, that was a dead trap I've just discovered. But yeah, tech traps are pretty much going to be this or time 2-2B. That sort of thing. There are a couple of super specific ones as well, but I think a lot of the time just taking the guaranteed damage in Curse and or Oki is the way to go for tech trap.
Okay, so like you said, not very many tech traps with Zasalamel, but onto his final section of this overarching section, his frame traps.
Yeah, okie doke. So, frame traps, by definition, are going to be things that your opponent has to respect, or they will get hurt for not respecting. So, typically with plus frames. So I guess ones that come to mind immediately is 214B plus K for a move that is going to be annoying for them on block +4. You're then going to have to respect Zaz's options, unless you're an I10 character who can AA out of I16s. But I'll just set it up here. So a frame trap would be something like this. We're getting a class there because I'm using an I12 Hori and he's using an I16. But you can't step block that. So that's going to be something that. So
a reminder that you are +4 on block.
Yeah, yeah, +4 on block on that. And this is a jailing string for anyone. So they can't do anything about that if they block the first hit. So that's going to cause them to want to take action at some point. Again, you're Zasalamel, so you can keep them still or, take advantage of them staying still because you're Zasalamel and lowering them or throwing them. Something like that. So that's a big example. Again, things that are very little negative on block, things like A6 that I mentioned towards the start, I14 Hori mid, so -4 on block. So quick blocks them as well. Opponent could immediately mash something really fast to interrupt you doing something fast, but they'd have to be ready for it. Or if they think that's what you're going to do, start going for GIs or blocking or movement. And that's how a lot of his momentum is going to work around against defensive opponents again. Funcratch 3k, like I said, is -2. So, you know how that one goes, really.
I think we all know how that one goes, yeah.
The same with 4A -2 as well. 22k, a nice move I quite like. It's a high, but horizontal and 0 on block. It does have a natural combo extension in 22KK. It is a jailing string, but if they are out the range of the first hit or stay ducking from the first hit, it's both high. But this is neutral on block and +4 on hit, and this one is -4 on block and a knockdown on normal hit, which relatively situational, but as you probably imagined, as with Zaz toolkit goes, which I can ring out too. So
if it can ring out, it will. That's
Yeah.
that's the takeaway.
A nice little cheeky side ring out there to a side that he doesn't have many ring out for. I just remembered a big part about his ring out game. We don't see these utilized very much, probably because it is relatively specific and requires you to read a mistake from the opponent. But soul attack into the curse spent into back to B plus K. I did it at a range there. That's why that last hit with example. But all of this side of you will ring you. And this is off of I-16, probably block punish or whiff punish. So that's quite strong too. By using meter and a curse, they did.
They did.
So that's another side ring out tool along with this, or in stun combos as well. A lot of, it's important to know his combo options because a lot of them lead to ring outs and stuff. So if I was to do, I had a brain fuck, then I'll try again.
Sorry, I just brought up my my Windows key onto the stream. Sorry about that.
Ring out options like that too.
God, absolutely disgusting.
I delved back into ring outs again. They're just so fun. Versatile.
So any kind of more, some of the more practical frame traps that you can do, ones that you'll see Zas's do more on a daily basis, shall we say?
Yeah, so I guess it's just more of a lot. So it doesn't have many plus frames on block other than the ones I mentioned. Of this, 2A plus B is +2, or an actual vertical I-30, and if he wants to keep the opponent honest at +2, it's mainly 2A, or can trade with his 6K for counter hits if they're hoping to mash. And it's just more about some person could say that everything feels like a frame trap because they've always got to respect CE because it starts on frame 8, GIs all mids and lows.
Yep.
And with one curse, he can get it to also do high as well. And it's +8 on block break attack. So you deal with them mashing, you deal with them blocking, you get a curse for them blocking. And it's an alright, pretty fun time for you. Unless you get sidestepped and they don't press a button. Because sometimes it can, if they're very late or they still hit into the auto GR window, it can realign and hit you. So you do have to be careful of that. But if you are well versed in fighting that doesn't come into play that often. You are going, most of the time you do rightfully get hooked for getting your critical edge sidestep. That is more read based and conditioning. And
sure.
and a frame that they have to think about, like things like this, like neutral on hit CE, like this will beat 2A back, it will beat the mashing anything that isn't a sidestep, or a high if you haven't got curses, but also a high if you do. Just more examples of frame traps there. I will mention a very basic one in his 6AA, where if you do stay blocking, he is going to be +6 on this. So you'll get smacked by a 6K curse. He can go for 3A there, and it will technically be I-10 because you're +6. So you won't be able to step. You'll get trying to mash an I-12, and it's a horizontal mid, of course. But again, that's revolving around getting both of these blocked, which are high and can be GI'd. So you're kind of reading them to be dealing with 6AB instead, or you've conditioned them not to GI every time they see 6AB. But something else that, if you meet that criteria, you've got that frame trap to work with as well. And I should also mention tech crouches. You know, another way to.
Yeah, definitely mention is TCs.
Yeah, high crush. You know, opponents using highs, which up until this point sounded like a pretty good idea when, you know, CE didn't deal with it with no cursors. So you can be very annoying, and they know you've not got cursors and you've got bar. They want to do highs. They want you to interrupt your CE. Well, you can start doing more. One crouch 3k. Why not? So you'll be minus. You'll be like -8 from this. You just straight away duck. You'll deal with them mashing a high. You'll deal with them. You deal with them constantly stepping, or whether they can step G or step 2G, because you are of course negative. But again, this is a very specific response when you're, you know.
What are his most used tech crouches? Because I know you've got full crouch 3k, but what about some of the others?
Yeah, of course. So 4-6B comes to mind for a lot of people. It starts at frame 4 and it ends at frame 12, and it's an I-16 move. So the TC is really fast from frame 4 and can go under a lot of stuff. But you can trade and get grabbed out of it during its late frames. So there is a little bit of an inconsistency with that if you are using it purely to hyper. It just might not work sometimes. But with one curse for what it does, how safe it's going to be on block, you're going to get a lot of mileage off of that from going under a high, or then trying to step because it's
Yeah.
That is a big one. I'll also mention 2A I8 TC, 1A I8 TC. Nice moves to be checking them with, annoying them with, catching sidestep with, and tech crouching with. Again, you're covering these many possible responses, which helps you dictate the match, the flow, and harder for you to guess wrong unless they're hard reading these things. 6B plus K is another one I quite like. Even just for the first hit, it's nice poke. It's TCs from frame 12 onwards. So I like to backstep 6B plus KA because opponents like to do things into AA and stuff. So it'll allow you to backstep and then go under any remaining part of the high if that's what they did. So although this is mainly just for a whiff punisher anyway, and throwing it out to tech crouch in neutral can be risky, as we discussed earlier with the second hit. It's something that can be done if you want to Hail Mary, or just use the first hit safe. -8 on block. It's only +4 on hit. The reward is alright for what it is, but it is a vertical. Sometimes can track sidestep because it's but other than that. Now that's another tech in his arsenal. With this and this, things to annoy them with, even if they're the one blocking.
Well, they are very annoying moves to deal with for sure.
Yeah, and TC, which, as I say, is going to complement them not wanting to press highs, or they're waiting for CE, so they don't want to press anything else.
Yeah.
So that's just an idea of getting in their head, doing that to them.
Getting in their heads, dealing that mental damage, getting the edge over your opponent. Standard stuff as a Zasalamel, I'd say. So, we're moving on from the more practical elements of the Zasalamel top tier tutorial and moving on to the more theoretical. The first of which is matchups. Andyroo.
Oh,
I know we've spoken about this before, and obviously everybody has a different opinion, but please let the people dems know what your specific matchup spread and chart looks like for Zasalamel.
yeah, sure thing. I'm going to go to the character screen. I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm going to get off the characters. So here is our boy Zaz here. And here is our wonderful cast. We probably like some of them more than others, but these are what we have to deal with. So, in my honest opinion, how I mentioned how you play Zaz, you're all about controlling the opponent's rhythm and timing, which is a very player-based, way to be using your character. So, a lot of the time, no matter who you are, in most cases, I'm going to name a few in a moment, but no matter who they are, you're slowing them down with Zaz's moveset, and it doesn't matter too much. You do have to fight some characters in different ways. You do have to be careful of some possible auto GIs and setups, but generally you can apply your timing defensive based approach to any player and do pretty alright in the match. So because I said it's versatile and you can keep the opponents in, a lot of characters in this game aren't completely hopeless whenever they're in. So it would be unfair for me to say that every zoner that Zaz fights is instantly crazy in Zaz's favor.
Mm-hmm.
So with how he can play, I would say that overall he is going to be 5-5 across the board, with probably some exceptions where it is a clear advantage to him against the shorter range characters when they are being pushed away with some of your moves, like as I mentioned, 4B plus K or 4-4A at tip range, or using backstep and 1B, and generally making them have to come in for you to hit them with your spacing tools or make them whiff and control the match. So some matchups I would say are in his favor. Ones where that is probably more prominent are characters such as Talim, who have a bit more of an issue getting in, and a lot of her pressure comes from highs and her stances and reversal edge cancel. And Funkouch 3K denies a lot of that because it's safe to RE, is going to avoid the highs, hit her out of a lot of her pressure, and then you can go back to spacing her out again.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that one's more... Oh, and she doesn't have very good in neutral auto GIs, I don't believe.
She's got hardly any, apart from... I can't remember the stance, but where she's... Yeah.
It's not very... So she hasn't really got them to help against, all the strings she can do. So that's why I would say that obviously Zaz is going to have the favour over Talim in that sense. I'll also mention Astaroth as well, for someone that he is in particularly strong against. Less in Season 2, because he got incredibly a lot stronger in Season 2 with his with his extra grabs, more zoning tools with his BA, and some of the things that I can't immediately think of right now. But Zaz's ability to keep him close a lot of the time, and he can throw out a lot more of his slightly unsafe stuff and not get hurt for it as much as well. And probably a big factor is his 4K lethal hit that I mentioned earlier, being able to do that to a large amount of his moveset, including his grabs.
Oh yes, I remember talking about this with somebody else before.
Yeah, that's going to hurt quite a lot as well. So I feel that that's quite helpful in his favor. And his armor is weak to 2-hit string moves, which Zaz is quite well known for. You know, with his 6BB 3A series. I usually happily spam 3AB all day versus, just because, especially using Soldier, because I'm going to deal with armor as well as everything else, and I don't care too much if I get fully blocked, because he does have punishment options. You know, they're all right for him, but it's not like being -16 versus, you know, Sophitia or Maxi, or, you know, somebody like that will hurt you a lot for it. So I find that to be in Zaz's favor for the most part, but other characters, he can zone them out quite well, he can keep them in quite well, and because he plays such a player focused game, that's why I don't think they matter too much. But it's of course going to be important to know your punishment, your ideal range to limit their option, and that's why I could see other characters being slightly in Zaz's favor.
So if you were to like summarize his Zaz's favorable matchups, what would they be?
Yeah, I would say Astaroth, Talim. Then we have characters who.
And those are like what 6-4 matchups?
Yeah.
5.5.
Yeah. I would say 6-4, and he probably does a few more of them also. I could see probably things like Voldo, a character that wants to be very, you know, very slimy, very hard to hit, knock you down, use Oki, and mess you up that way. Of course, has got the barrier, the wall of Zaz of being, you know, if he's being very defensive and patient and stopping him moving, is going to have a hard time getting his game. But I've not faced. I don't want to say that for definite. Of course, not all these are definite, especially matchup ratios are very opinion based. But
of course, yeah.
But those, it's my take really on how I see them. I will mention some standouts that I think Zaz had some trouble against. I'll note a few, and then a very in particular one I'll get to the end. I'm going to mention Killick firstly as an awkward matchup for Zaz. I could see it being in Killick's favor for his auto GIs, specifically Monument, that deals with a lot of his horizontal. Meaning that he can't use those as freely in a matchup, or he eats a lot of damage, and Killick's got a character specific combo versus Zaz, does a lot more damage than others. I can't remember how much, I think it's like 80 or 90, so it can really hit hard. He does have the weakness of getting some of his Monument auto GIs. You can re-GI them, but you need to have a certain number of frames to do that, and not many of Zaz's moves actually allow him to re-GI them either, so he can't really use that to get out of them. So that can be a pain in keeping Killick generally still.
So basically what you're saying is that Milo should be beating you every time he fights you. That's basically what you're saying.
It is awkward. It is awkward to find it, and when that is a threat, you can be patient and wait for it and hit him with verticals. He does have the other auto GI, and 2-2B and stepping, and his Wild Rising B is completely safe versus Zaz too. And his GI game is very strong. Like when you're playing player against player and you get a reading of the opponent's timing, then his post GI game is very strong, and that can be hard to deal with. So I can see arguments for that being more slightly in Killick's favor.
What about his other not in his favor matchups? So more of a like 4-6 to him, or even a 5.5 and a 5.5.
What? So more even matchups to Zaz.
Well, I mean, firstly, go over the ones where they're not in his favor. So the ones where he will lose if the players are equal. Players are pretty much 100% equal, and then obviously go over his more balanced matchups.
Yeah, I was going to mention Cervantes next for a character that Zaz can have a bit of trouble with. For he also plays a very counter hits timing based game. And Cervantes gets a very big reward from reading the timings, and he's got IGDR whiff punishers, 2A plus B lethal hit. He's got a great array of auto GI. His 2-2K is very good against Zaz because he will sidestep verticals and it will auto GI horizontal attempts, and it's safe against Zaz. It's -10, I think.
Oh wow! Okay.
So Survey 2-2K is very good at that. And again, similar Kiddick, he's got an incredible GI game as well. So again, if you're reading the timings, he puts you in very undesirable post-GI situations more than, which are more threatening than some other characters. And when he's in soul charging,
yeah, A6B simulator.
Yeah, that does. I want to mention Siegfried for, without a doubt, in Siegfried's fate, because of how absurd the character is anyway, but how Basehold effectively neuters his ability to deal with sidestep at all. Like Zaz's horizontal are high kicks that track, or horizontal mids and lows that are weapon based. So any 3A, 6A, 1A, 6A, A6 will all get base hold auto GI'd, and anything like front crouch 3K, standing K, 6K are all highs that base hold will tech crouch under. So it's very hard to deal with that as a whole, which gives Siegfried the ability to sidestep very, very freely. I've got to decide that I'm not going to challenge him step if I don't want to eat base hold.
You never want to eat a base hold, do you?
No, and is going to sidestep 2-2A, an incredibly stupid move, being safe TC frame, so it'll probably avoid my high step catches anyway. Safe half-life on a wall split, ring outs, very, very dumb stuff. And in general, his damage output is very high. Zaz these reads, he can do it with things like 6-6B if he doesn't read stepping, but we know how that goes. It can be hard to deal with base hold.
Oh yes.
His damage output is very high, and Zaz can find it hard to compete with that unless he's getting a lot of counter hits or curse combos and stuff like that. So I feel like it's a very easy to say hard matchup to deal with, and you want to try and zone Siegfried. It's really hard. He's got very good zoning tools. He's very, very good whiff recovery. I can't do some of my best whiff punishes against his stances when they whiff, because he can just roulette, and I'd have to be like super on point, have the most optimal spacing going to land a whiff punisher for like 50 damage and a curse or something, where he's just whiffing here, and if I guess wrong, he's roulette parrying, or he makes me whiff and just whiff punishes me. I think it's very hard. I think it's not impossible. I don't want to say it's any worse than 6-4 to 6.
But it's that one base hold thing which basically dominates the entire matchup.
Defining, and I've always got to guess that, and like I say, how safe he can be in the damage output he gets, and this is all without Dark Legacy, and I'm not even mentioning that part yet. yeah, it just gives him a bit of a hard time overall. So I think he is probably on par to be one of his worst.
Okay, who would you say is his like second worst matchup if there's even another 6-4?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I say, you can generally have a strategy against most characters. Characters with I10s, you have to work around a bit more. Again, most of them are high, so it just becomes down to more of a player-based read, situation of are you going to use your high? I'm just going to duck and punish you, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes like a no option in that sense. Ivy can be difficult because no matter where she is on the screen, she's really good. Like, I don't understand why everyone's gone quiet about Ivy. I still think she's absolutely nuts. So
Heard it here first, folks. Heard it here.
Yeah.
Well, not first, but again.
Summon suffering, like, I still can't understand why there's an unbreakable threat. Resourceless, but there's that to worry about, and all the other ranges. And once you get out of Zaz's, I like to call it 2.5 range, so that is 2 back steps away, and a half. Outside of that range, it becomes very hard to assert your hitbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, to keep them in the Zaz blender of you being able to take the initiative and keeping them still. And Ivy can just play well outside of that range. So there's a bit of a battle to get there. Not as bad as some other characters. So if you're Talim, Rip, I feel really bad for you in this match. But like, Zaz has only got to get to about here, even though this can be risky because Ivy can backstep here and then be out of his range. So this, if Ivy can maintain this distance, and even when you are in, it's all about, am I going to wait for someone suffering? Are you going to do your pokes to keep out? If I do guess wrong and she reads me, she gets all of her big damage. This isn't an Ivy combo video. I'm not going to do any of that. But that will hurt also. So I can see Ivy dominating the matchup, especially when she's in her best, which can be more than half the time because everywhere's her best.
Welcome to the
if I mean.
Yeah, it does. It makes sense.
So I would say Ivy is tough as well. As well as there's a stage when I had much trouble, but I think that's just more of a player thing. They are you have to play differently against each one of his stances. So when he's against swords, you're being very, you play very defensive and high crusher funka K. When he's in spear, you can go ham. You can press your moves that are minus 16, and you just bait his spear weapon arts. And when he's in axe, you also go ham as well, and know when he's at advantage for you to be able to step guard out of his axe low and verticals. He does have some counterplay to that, but again, at this point, we're player versus player again.
Yeah, exactly.
But that can be very hard to manage. You have to play so differently versus each stance, and when he's an almighty, he's there anyway. So I can see that going either way.
What about some of his more even matchups, like the ones where you can both play around each other pretty well?
Yeah, so I guess that's probably going to be most of them. I think Cassandra, incredibly good character close up, some of the best, mix-ups. You can make reads on her with stepping or ducking a lot of her pressure tools. But she also has auto GIs. If you're the one guessing wrong and defending, she's doing mix-ups to you. She's got an I-10 AA, a very important part of her matchup, meaning that Zaz has to consider that when he's at +4, because obviously his 3A would only be I-12 and will still lose to AA. So you'll have to consider, tech crouching options again.
Sure.
But I think, but because at that point where can go either way, I think that's going to be even matchup, because Zaz can also force her to come in as well. I think Nightmare is an even matchup, because although we can spam our very good count hit lows and -12 moves, we have to be careful about his armor. We have to play him very differently, because 3A, 6B, 6A all get eaten by his armor, and we have to use moves like 6B. K6 is another one as well. I'll show some of these moves to you while we go versus Nightmare. And we have to change a lot of the usual game plan of keeping him still with these moves to a more of a read, even footing type thing, which Nightmare can get big damage off, as we know, from making reads. So, and there's also the CE as well, which will deal with a lot of pokes.
That is true, yeah.
And stuff. So yeah, spam what we can. Like 6BK, a great move, as I mentioned before. That weakness of being -12 isn't there anymore, because you can't punish it. But it is weak to armor. So 6XB will beat armor. K6 will as well. All your counter hit lows will also do it. And there's a couple more as well that my brain isn't thinking about right now.
It's no problem.
But so I would say he can go either way also.
So if you want to, just very, very succinctly sum up his best matchups, his worst matchups, and then the people can fill in the rest themselves, obviously.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be going down the whole cast saying it's 5/5 because this character can do this, but I can do this. Or you just kind of get an understanding of who you can zone out and keep on, and who you want to preferably keep in and press buttons against.
Mm-hmm.
So as I say, the worst ones for me personally, I would say like Killick, Cervantes, and definitely Siegfried, and then we have the better matchups: Talim, Ashtaroth, are definitely the ones that I think are more clear. I can see arguments for every other character that can go either way. Remember, I've not mentioned Raphael yet, just simply because I also think that's even as well. Because even though he has his 6B to worry about, and his fantastic punishments and range, and his auto mix-ups that he can enforce by being in stance, it's still mix-ups. It's still, are you going to do this vertical high that I'm going to duck and
of course.
Or I'm in prep now. I've got 6 options to choose against, and you can do 1 or 2 options that beat almost all of them, and it again becomes more of a read. So I would even have So when I'm putting a character like Raphael as a 5/5 Zaz, then I can see that being the case for many others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense to me.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is your opinion on the character that you play and know the best. You are one of the top competitors in the UK, if not in Europe, and people should listen to you, even if they don't agree with you. So, from his matchups, from his combos and tech traps, from his strengths and weaknesses, from the everythings, we're going to move on to the penultimate section, his buffs, his nerfs, his changes and his adjustments that Andy thinks that should happen to his character. Now, as I preface every time we make the top tier tutorial, this is all subjective. This is all what the specific person giving the tutorial at the time thinks should happen with their character, but I do ask them to be as objective as possible. However, we're all human, and sometimes we want some stuff that maybe some other people may seem a little bit silly. However, Andyroo, take it away.
So please start playing the small violin. So some very, very disappointing thing for me is 4/4A plus B. I've failed to mention this before. Is a really nice whiff punisher with good range and, as I say, good Oki as well. I do like this move a lot. It does have some whiffing issues against some hitboxes. It's got a lethal hit, which is very, very powerful, which is against backstep, which you get a very, very disgusting combo off if you are to land it. But some characters can just still happily backstep out of it, even though it doesn't look like he should be able to. So there could be some sort of like, I don't know, like realignment or general hitbox adjustment that could be done there to make that actually work. It is relatively weak to box as well, so when they backstep and sidestep, so it's hard enough to land as it is. So we don't need no inconsistency. And a separate thing. Now this is something I'm most upset about, is when you use it as a whiff punisher, you want to move whatever they're doing, they've whiffed, you want to launch them for, get a good advantage of. Sometimes that might be their back, and if I was to do this during back, look at this sad story. His follow-up whiffs. Look at this. I told you to play the small violin. I don't hear it. Okay.
You'll get no violins played from anybody in the chat, I'll tell you that much.
I know. It's all right at this distance. It does work. It's not too bad. But there are just times when this just matters. There was a time when like I was against Skill, right, and it was a team tourney. I think it was versus fighting, and it was me to go up against Skill. So it was a 1-to-1 Astral Chaos stage, Zaz versus Mitsurugi. Final round, me and him. You can imagine the pressure on me at this point. Like, oh my god, Skill, it's always with a player of that caliber, right?
Yeah.
He whiffed, okay? Counter hit happens. I whiff punish him with 4/4A plus B, and my goddamn thing whiffs. This happened to me against Skill, and he came back and he won. After that combo would have beaten him in that setting. I know.
So we have Zas to blame for the UK losing then.
Side came back and destroyed him all with Raphael. So,
oh well, there you go then. Everything's okay.
but I was. But so that could be an inconsistent thing that I wish I, could change about him. As a general, but there are some other little things that there's Asperger going about with inconsistency, but they're the things that strike out to me personally.
Okay, so not many things that you would change.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how he is, honestly. With the way he plays, what he's going for, his mix-ups in Soul Charge.
I mean, I'm going to ask it because I know people in the chat will be asking this as well. What about his hitboxes, Andy?
Oh, his nerfs, right? Okay. No, there are some things that that do need to change for him on, a bit too good level. Which his vertical. I mean, I've said it on other podcasts and things. The tracking needs to go. There
is also a video on Andy's Twitter somewhere. Go trawl through that. I actually forgot to try and search for it before. But yes, he does have a video regarding the hitboxes and tracking issues of Zasalamel.
Yeah, right, bloody now. So 4/6B is probably one of the worst contenders for it. It's as you can see, like if I am most characters, look at that. That's me step G'ing like really late, and then dying for it. It's a pretty bad shame. It is. So that and a bunch of other verticals do need to get their thing reduced. Other characters do have it, and that's probably what a lot of Zaz players are going to. Hello, Albion. That are going to argue with that saying, but I think Zaz, on par with Siegfried and Maxi, are some of the worst characters with tracking on their moves. They all equally need to go. But when we ever get that fix and adjustment, this is Soulcalibur. I think we've all just got accustomed to it at this.
Yeah, we're just
and-
like, oh, okay, he hit me while I was stepped with a vertical. Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. So there's that obviously needs to be fixed. His ring out game is reverse ring out is too good. The only adjustment I would make to it to make it not unfair situation is simply not making his front throw reverse ring out anymore, because if you didn't have to worry about not breaking that, then you could always break reverse throw and not get rung out anymore, so you can actually stand. You'd actually have some defense against, from stand guarding at the edge, and everything else will just be, it's going to be incredibly good ring out character still. It's still probably going to have the best reverse ring out game at that point as well. That's basically what they made him to be like, but it is too good how both bros can do it. It was always hilarious how Siegfried and Nightmare got their flapjack.
Oh yeah, right. That was quite an odd thing to change.
That is very toxic. Why have a character, get a cheap ring out from reverse? That's not fair. And then here's me with both of them ever since the game came. Oh, that's alright for Zaz then.
Hashtag Okapo, please.
That's a bit too good. And probably some of his damage with one curse. Like, for some reason, against a lot of characters, if they have one curse on and you hit them in certain angles, you can get combos that work with usually 3 curses be able to work off one. Like, I don't really think this should be a thing with one curse anywhere near a wall, but it is. Look at this.
Eesh.
That's one curse with the Oki, and they can't do anything about it if they're anywhere near a wall. If a launch knocks them back turn like this, they can't do anything about that either. And that's half life off one.
Some of the spiciest damage you'll ever see Zas get.
It's pretty nasty. So I think that should be just like, I think it'd be fair if it was, at least 2 curses. That there's a bit more of a, of effort put in to get that. And even then, that's still like what. But one curse, it's just a bit too strong. So I would change that reverse ring out and for nerfs and the buff violence. That's what I would change there.
Fair. Okay, so is that everything you wanted to say, Mr. Andyroo?
For the nerfs and
For the section, anything else you'd like to add, or are we?
I think we're pretty good. We're pretty good on that front there.
Beautiful. So before we get to the conclusion, I thought it was important because obviously we've got Evo coming up soon. Hopefully we get new characters introduced and we get more people playing the game. I wanted these kind of somewhat middle/end of season 2. Like, maybe we'll get more buffs and nerfs and changes, and if that happens, we'll make update videos. But for now, for anybody who's new or for anybody who wants more information on Zas, this VOD will be up on YouTube in due course once the VOD has been taken down from Twitch. However, if you have any questions questions regarding to things that haven't been covered in the VOD, please put them in the chat now so that Andy can answer them. And then we will end with the conclusion, and then we'll go back to our lives in lockdown. So, the first couple of questions I had were from Zanakan. The first one is, what -20 and -18 moves do Zasses use regularly?
He wants to know for all his lovely Wrath lethal hits and punishment.
Yeah.
So, it is a alright point to mention because Zaz is unsafe on some of his stuff, but he's not very often very unsafe on this stuff. So probably the only situation when I fight Silas as well, that he actually gets a 236B lethal hit on is if he happens to block a back turn 2k. That is minus 20. So he can, Zaz players who think that back turn mix up is strong, you can get messed up pretty hard for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a minus 20 move. But other than that, it pretty much minus 16 is where most of his unsafest stuff is, like 2-2B, minus 16, plus 6. 1B, no cursors on block, is minus 20. So you can, if you're a god, 2-3-6B lethal. But if I've got cursors, then that's going to change, because with 1 curse on block, it's minus 10, 2, 0, 3, plus 10. So be careful of buffering your punishers in time stop, because sometimes it makes the move come out anyway if you've tried to buffer and then block after a time stop. so
yeah.
Be careful of that happening. So there's your answer, Anakin. Not really many. I've just shown you probably the most used one out of them all. This is minus 24. With no cursors, but no one's really doing that. Yeah.
Okay. Second question from Zan. What strings are rarely ducked or stepped?
Rarely ducked or stepped.
Yeah.
All of them if they don't know the matchup.
Yeah, fair enough.
Spam them at anything. If you're not getting 6B plus KA ducked the second hit, then they are playing it. They deserve to get hit by it and lose. They need to duck every time. There's staggers where you can do the first hit into stuff, but you can never so easily just like twitch duck and stand up in time. So definitely they need to duck, and if they don't, then it's pretty free. That probably means that you're going to get much more stuff. Like chances are they're not going to deal with this the first time, so you're going to get a curse on them.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. That's what I would say with his general.
Okay. And the last question from Zanakin. What moves does Zas not mind getting blocked? And then what does he do after?
Okay, so happy to get blocked moves are ideally plus moves like 214B plus K, as I mentioned before, was plus 4. A lot of his good moves like Front Catch 3K is minus 2, so that's fine. You're usually happy to get 4A blocked, especially at this range, because you denied them of spacing. You've covered that much distance. You're going to catch sidestep in your minus 2, so you can carry on doing things there. Those are some of his main moves that you don't really mind getting blocked, because you're at a very little disadvantage that you can disrespect. Or you have the option of playing safe and making them hang themselves instead, so you can.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Wonderful. Question from Arpia. If he was hopeless when the opponent blocks, do you think he'd be a viable character? Because you mentioned earlier on in the tutorial that he's not hopeless if the opponent blocks, because he does have some lows, he has ways of getting around that. But if he was hopeless when the opponent blocks, do you think he would be a viable character with the rest of his tools?
Yeah, so I mean, if he had even more powerful alone, then I would put him absolutely top 5, because I'm going to surprise a lot of people in the chat. I've decided that at best I can perfectly understand people having him in top 5, but with some of the characters in this game, I am going to say that this conditioning you do have to do with Zaz. There are some characters that really don't need that. They can just go ham with mix-ups and stupid moves and really not care, even more so than Zaz, without having to condition them first by keeping them still. It's not hard to do. and it's very effective, I think, as but he is not. But I would put him like sixth or seventh best character in the game, and on a good day, like top 5, like just.
On a good day, top 5, just about.
Yeah, which is very high position to put. I rate characters like Mina, Ivy, Siegfried, Raph, and Amy to be incredibly powerful, and I think that they take the top spot personally, but Zaz is just under them.
Gotcha. One question from Blade. Any way to tell the difference between Zas 6K and 3K? Like just at a glance, as in obviously one of them's a high, one of them's a mid, but is there any way to tell which one is which? Like when you're not really that familiar with the character?
Yeah, it's definitely going to go back to, if you're going to struggle with that. I mean, it is quite hard to tell. I'll be very honest. Yeah, like if I am quickly in a high pressure situation, I don't think I'm going to be immediately on point with that. 6K is -12 on block. This is. But the block stun is incredibly short. Even if I know it's a 6K, if I'm even a second too late. Oh shit! Okay, I'm getting it right now. But like, if I'm like, oh, you see what I mean? Like, any moment of hesitation in that moment. So, it is important to know the difference in that sense. But yeah, look, like this is 6K. This is 3K. His hand is going near their balls more on 3K. I guess 6K is more of the chest shot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like he's shunning his balls. Like, no, that's
That's how you recognize it. It's whether or not he shoves at your balls. There you go. Heard it here first. And
they are very similar.
And the last question that we had was from Mr. Hawk of GP. Do you have an alternative combo for the back kit? I think he's talking about 4/4 A plus B.
Nothing, bro. Absolutely nothing. Everything else will whip. When I know that is going to happen, whenever I'm in this situation and they're like, oh no, my back turn lows would whiff. I can't like mix up anything. This can be blocked. This is out of range. I usually just take it to turn around and carry on pressure that way. So I would do it and just like pretend it's not even a launch. Because you can't get anything else off it. So that's the most I can ever do with it. And I sometimes do that even if it might even comboed. But look at that, look. I'm not even exactly far away. I thought that was going to work.
Big rip, dude.
But it didn't. Yeah, so it can be really sucky, look, just about. So sometimes, even when it might work, I don't even want to risk it because if I go for it and it whips, I can get punished. I can't get out of my move any quicker. I can just choose to like do it and oh shit, it missed. That they're out of the way. Look. Yeah, that last hit there, I think that's just a Zaz idle. Yeah, normally that second hit can't reach them, and I get punished. So okay. No is the answer.
No is the answer. The very, very short answer. Fair. Okay. It looks like we are out of questions, and we have completed episode 3 of the Top Tier Tutorials series. Thank you very much, Andy, for coming on. I know you really, really love sharing your knowledge of your character with the community. We had you on Soulcast, the Soulcalibur EU podcast that we did a while back, and you kind of shared some of your thoughts then. But of course, games change and characters evolve, and I'm happy that you were able to come on and be our 3rd ever guest on Top Tier Tutorials.
Yeah, man. I'm honored to get chosen for it. I like, trying to help everybody else get better at the game. I feel like when you've got somebody who's so, motivated to learning and helping, it leaves a good vibe to everybody else. enjoying the game and playing it. So then everybody's a winner, really, and that's what I really like.
Exactly.
I'm always open to help in any way with the Zaz matchup, or if I know anything else in general. I put a lot of work into the Zasalamel Discord. That if you're not a part of it, I recommend that you join it, even if it's just fight against him, because I go in depth with different parts of his game, where I talk about combos, cursors, neutral game, Oki, mix-ups. I try and mention everything, so it's like it's very fitting for Zaz. You know, he's a very his lore is all about, knowledge and wisdom and being like an immortal and all that, and it feels very fitting that the Zasalamel Discord has, almost like a library of information on all different parts of his game. So if you want to know more in depth about him and that, as I say, I put a lot of work into that, and I would recommend joining and saying hello.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to support the channel, please click that subscribe button to get updates every time I upload, but I also stream on Twitch and have a Twitter account. If you'd like to follow both of those, the links are on your screen and down in the description. Take care and stay safe.